Well, hi, everybody. It is the Week in the Tackle podcast. My name is Tom Rennie. I'm in a farmhouse right now. Alongside me, virtually and spiritually, is TV star and youthful zest machine, MLS legend, Brian Dunny Dunseth. How are you, mate? You all right?
Rennie, I'm great. I love the mock turtleneck. You look nice and cozy. I expected an old-fashioned that you would be sipping on at this moment while... Oh, it's right over there.
It's literally there. I have my bourbon here. I'm in my holiday home, and I can see my bourbon. My dinner is ready. My wife is in the bedroom through there. She looks pretty ready. So let's make sure we... Sorry, darling. So let's rattle through the old pod this week. Never mind about that. Never mind about my life, which is incredibly dull. What's it like being a national celebrity now?
See, I want to come back to this because you have a vacation home that I was unaware of. I thought you were just verboing something out there in the English. Where are you, in the forest? The forestry?
I'm in a lovely little place in West Sussex called Chichester.
Chichester.
Chichester. So there's a lovely harbour here in Chichester. Yesterday we spent a lovely time on Hayling Island, a little island just off the coast of the United Kingdom, south coast. It's a beautiful, beautiful place, and I'm in a little farmyard lodge. There's a fireplace in front of me, which we're gonna do. It's too hot for a fireplace, but I'm only here for a few days.
Vibes.
So we're doing
vibes,
it.
Rennie. Yeah.
So we're gonna crack open some red wine tonight. We're gonna finish the game of Risk we started 3 days ago.
Ooh.
We have been warring over Irkutsk now since Sunday. So, tonight's the night. Everything's going to be all right, as Rod Stewart famously sang.
Okay. I dig it. Back to me. It was fun, man. It was fun. It was the first time. Listen, I've been fortunate enough to be a part of U.S. men's national team broadcasts over the years for various companies. Excuse me. And my voice is a little tight right now. I was on the airplane all morning.
Oh, you used all your good voice for TNT, did you? Hey?
Welcome everybody to Explorious State. I didn't do the intro. But listen,
that was the EA Sports guy. That was very good. That's another career for you.
Thank you. And by the way, Timmy Tickles is back.
Yes, we've got no time. Focus.
Sorry. Squirrel. Turner, TNT, Big Boy Studios. I don't know. Do you know who Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal and Ernie and do you know that whole NBA? Like TNT
Charles
show?
Barkley, didn't he have the song Crazy? Isn't that Charles Barkley?
Close. Very, very close. You know Shaquille O'Neal, though. Everybody knows Shaq. Yeah,
Shaquille O'Neal was America's Next Top Model.
Again, factual statements. You're 2 for 2. Just knocking it out of the park.
Who else you got?
Yeah, I'm going to leave it there because you don't know Kenny the Jet. Well, Kenny the Jet.
That's the Elton John song.
Kenny and the Jets. Yep. He's 3 for 3. This is too easy. We're going to have to do Rennie Draws America one more time, Horsey. So anyways, I go down to Atlanta. If you watch sports in the United States, I would personally say NBA on TNT, that show is the best sports show in the United States. Take away any competition for any sport. Everybody tries to recreate that with Kenny, Ernie is the host, Shaq, Charles Barkley. I mean, it's extraordinary. It's hilarious. It is just the best. It's the premier sports show in the United States. And to be on that studio lot, and at the time, they were doing the college basketball tournament. They were doing NBA on Thursday nights and Friday nights. And it was busy. It was hectic. And they just do everything right, man. And so to be a part of that, it was my first time since TNT and Turner got the U.S. men's national team rights going forward. They started in January. I was over in Barcelona. So this is my first time being a part of the broadcast. We did a game. The game was in Grenada. So we did the studio show from Atlanta. And then I flew back. As soon as that show was over, I got on the plane the next morning, flew back to Salt Lake City, did Real Salt Lake against St. Louis City SC with Max Bredos for Apple and MLS. Then as soon as that was done at 10 o'clock at night, I went straight back to the airport to red eye back to Atlanta that night, overnight, then to jump on 5 a.m. arrival, 7 a.m. departure from Atlanta to Orlando, literally get off the plane, jump in the car, go to US practice. They had locked the gates. I had to jump the fence because I'm from California. I can jump fences like nobody's business. Go to practice, talk to the coaches, talk to Yunus Musa, talk to Matt Turner. Who else did we talk to? Saw all the guys, and then last night, Monday night, we called the game against El Salvador. U.S. wins. They were not good in the first half, much better in the second half. Qualified for the Nations League, which is the tournament that they won last year. So Nations League semifinals and finals will be in Vegas in June. And then in 2 weeks' time, we play Mexico. So this is all. And then I got on the plane this morning. So this is all the things that I've done pretty much in the last 96 hours.
That's too busy. That is too busy. This morning, I walked the dog in a forest and then came back to do the Grumpy Pundit show. And now I'm doing this. And I felt like today that was way too much. That's like your morning. My entire day is like what you do pretty much before I actually wake up. It's very tiring.
Well, really quick, shout out, because I didn't catch their names, but I had 4 separate people at Exploria Stadium in Orlando stop me and say, Dunny, I love listening to you on SiriusXM. I loved you on Counterattack. I love you with Rennie on Grumpy Pundits. This is fantastic. And then I started getting messages from people on Instagram, because I'm off the Twitter, saying that me and my wife were sitting there watching the game and my son came running in because he heard Dunny's voice, or my wife and I were sitting on the computer. We were working. We had the game on. Oh, that's Brian Dunsa from Grumpy Pundits. That's my favorite show. So just so you know, it's slowly Rennie and Dunny taking America.
This podcast, top 50 in America now. We're in the top 50. We're breaking the top 50. If we make the top 20, folks, we might actually start making some money out of this. So if you could tell your friends to subscribe to the Week in the Tackle podcast, and also, I should say, leave us a review as well. Yeah. We used to do lots of reviews when we were with Sirius. We're now doing our own show. So we kept the reviews, but we want some new reviews. They only work on Apple. On the other things, you do ratings. We're very highly rated on all the podcast channels because it's a top show. I think we can all agree. But we do love a written review. And I read that Instagram thing, which was terrific, though it is concerning that another man's wife screams your name on a regular basis. That's concerning. And also, sorry, Tim, but has she not fucking heard of me? I mean, unbelievable.
Hey, but by the way, we should let people know, if you want to see what Dunny and Rennie look like in real life, all you got to do is head over to the gram. Head over to the gram, and you could see Dunny and Rennie delicately sipping a very average to very small beer in London while you and I finally met face to face only a few months ago.
Yes, and the entire program that we're doing right now is available on YouTube if you're listening to the podcast. Right, back to the football. I've got questions for you.
Yeah.
We'll do a little football chat. It's international break week, so we're loose. We're loose with the running order. What did you make to the USA? First of all, playing Grenada, which were of course
Grenada. Can't say Grenada.
No, you can, because it was a northern television network in the 1980s and 90s who made some terrific television, including Coronation Street. So you can, and I am.
Okay.
And also, I'm not going to get invited there. TNT ain't calling me. You know, Shaq and I want to say Bill. They're not going to ring me. Charles, that's it. I knew it was something. I knew it was something. That was close. Niles Barkley, not Charles Barkley. I balls that right up. No, I do know who they are. I just do this for fun. They're just the bouncy one. So I do want to ask some football questions about it. But El Salvador, I mean, are you meant to just be playing nations rejected as not realistic from the Nathan Drake series Uncharted, Pulisic's Revenge?
I knew this was coming because of your distaste for the CONCACAF region. Listen, you can only play who's in front of you.
But that's the point, isn't it? I'm making a serious point with my excellent joke. What's the point of America playing Granada Television and El Salvador, Pulisic's Revenge, and you've got a game against Mexico coming up in April when no Premier League or European players will be released and the MLS season is going on for, sure, some money in that. But, I mean, no one's going to turn up to such a point that you might be on the sideline doing the game. And they're like, Dunny, we've got no one else to play right back. You're in. You could get your first full cap because of the ridiculous nature of the US men's schedule when you could have just played Brazil once and actually learned something.
Yeah, I think I might actually have a cap. There's been some there's been some question marks surrounding the official tally of my caps.
Well, you'd have a cap. If you got a cap, you'd have a cap. You get a cap.
No, it's not like that here. We're not as pretentious as you. We don't have tea caps that we
Why
hand
is it
out.
called a cap?
Little Billy caps. It's because we steal
It's
everything.
nice.
Called soccer.
The Billy cap thing's really cool. Did you see Ivan Toney get his little Billy cap this week?
It was cool. Yeah.
Nice.
He's never gonna wear it.
No, he might sell it for gambling money.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
He might sell it to his lender for credit.
Curveball. Okay. Two things.
Yes.
One, not all of us can play Luxembourg and score 37 goals.
Hey.
Two.
Hey. Whoa. How dare you? How dare you besmirch the financial center of Luxembourg? I think you'll find it's San Marino, the Granada television of Europe.
Sorry.
Or Gibraltar, the Rockers. Danny Higginbottom, if you're listening.
We are, and Danny, I love Danny's story about representing Gibraltar. Two, Jamaica tied Mexico in Mexico the other day, and and now, because of the way it's looking, dependent upon the results tonight between Canada and Honduras, the U.S. might actually have to play Mexico in the semifinals and not the finals of the Nations League. So again, back to this is the regional tournament. This is what we talked about, trying to make games better, I guess, realer, if that's the right word. So you're not
it's not even a word. Never mind the right word.
Playing at Cal State Fullerton, baby. Playing a team for just 60 minutes and going in and out. The Wednesday one that's coming up on the 19th is a fascinating one because, yes, it's not the international window, but remember this.
Yes.
MLS players will be released for that. So we have two things happening. We kind of have two teams. We've got the European-based team, which we saw primarily for this window, with the exception of Alan Sonora and Alex Zendejas, who play in Liga MX. For how am I going to go blank on this? For
Miles
America and Juarez, and then Miles Robinson from Atlanta United. So Miles Robinson was going to go to the World Cup had he not torn his Achilles, and he would have started at the World Cup. You saw last night; he was incredible. So the MLS-based team came in January for the two friendlies against Serbia and Colombia. This was the European-based team because it was last time they were going to be together until June. The U.S.-Mexico game, it's a made-up game. It's a selling point. I get all that. They're going to put it in Arizona. They're going to sell it out. It's going to be incredible in terms of the environment because it's still U.S.-Mexico. This is similar to what happened a couple summers ago. Greg Berhalter used the primary European-based players to play in the Nations League. And because of the length of the season in Europe, he gave them off the end of June, mid-July Gold Cup, because those players need a rest. And especially with this year being so complicated because of the World Cup in the middle of December, the idea is we're getting guys games. We're seeing who can rise to the top in Major League Soccer, who's playing well, who deserves that opportunity. And then dependent upon how they play at a quote unquote higher level against the Mexican team that has notoriously been primarily Mexico based, only a few players over in Europe, primarily a Mexico based team. They're going to bring what they think is their strongest possible group. And it's going to be an opportunity for, I would say, the depth of the roster for the U.S. squad to be tested. I know you don't believe in it. I know you don't see it. But right now, with no sporting director, with no general manager, and no head coach.
If you've got no manager and no sporting director and no direction, don't throw in an extra pointless game where half your players, the main players, won't play.
I disagree with you because I think if you look at the MLS based from the starting 11 the other night, there were 7 players, right, that started the World Cup. So you're talking about 4 other players in Major League Soccer that were starting in the World Cup. The opportunity for these MLS players, and we do this thing where we talk about European-based players are better than MLS-based players because Europe's better. I get all that. I understand that. I'm not arguing
it. That's not true. No, that's not directly
I'm not
true.
saying you do. I'm saying this is the narrative.
Yeah, but that might be a narrative. But it's wrong. If you've got a squad of 25, you get your best 25 available players of that nationality and you put them in a squad. And if you can't play 20 of them because they play for Chelsea and Borussia Dortmund and Union Berlin and whatnot, then there's no point in doing the game. It's free caps. It's giving caps away.
Yeah, it's different now. I would say giving caps away was what it was like when we didn't have a head coach, when Bruce Arena stepped down and Dave Sarachan took over. Because that timeline, 2017 to 2019, before we had a general manager, before we had a head coach, you were identifying anyone who was a dual national, who played in Europe, or had some type of experience in the youth national team that could potentially jump forward. That's not the case anymore. Now it's about depth of roster. When I say depth of roster, I'm talking about depth of literally competing for the top spot in the starting 11 in your respective position. And you look at Matt Turner. A year ago, Matt Turner was an MLS-based goalkeeper who was playing out of his mind, going to an MLS Cup final, going to an MLS All-Star game, and Zach Steffen was sitting on the bench. Now you start to see the ebbs and flows and the ideas of these players playing their domestic football and looking abroad or looking for better opportunities. Now they're having to be more careful. They have to be choosing. Even Ricardo Pepi scored 3 goals in 2 games. He made his big money. He was a dual international, could have gone to Mexico. We get him in the U.S. He's dropping dimes for FC Dallas. He gets his big money move to Augsburg, goes to Augsburg, doesn't work, doesn't play, doesn't score goals, gets left off the roster. And next thing you know, he's pissed, hangs up on Greg Berhalter when Greg Berhalter calls to let him know he's not taking him. And he's been scoring goals left and right. Now he comes back into the team. He's double birds in everybody, saying, I should have been the starting striker at the World Cup. Look at what I'm capable of doing. So the depth of, especially these MLS players, the Brandon Vasquez's, those type of, like, you have to give these guys opportunity against high level opponents, because not only do you want to see if they can perform at an international level, you want these guys to showcase themselves and say, all right, is Europe the right answer? Is South America the right answer? Is there a next level for them? And that's what those, I get it, but that's what those games against Mexico give opportunity to.
Yes, but the two things shouldn't be mutually exclusive. Number one, good opponents. Number two, games that matter. You got to put your hands together and make that jam sandwich. That's what I'm saying. Listen, I've got some other questions for you. We've done that, and I think we did it well. I enjoyed what you said. But I got some other questions for you. Tyler Adams, I want to talk to you about him. We've had a few discussions about him over the last couple of years, and you really rate him. I'm coming round to you as the year goes on. I've seen him play incredibly well at times for Leeds United. Didn't go on this camp, injured before the Wolves game, I think. Confirmation came on the Tuesday as we did the show that he's having hamstring surgery. And how long's the recovery? How long's a piece of string? Firstly, on that, Tyler Adams, likely, I would suggest, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but to miss the rest of this season.
Yeah. Disappointing. When we were made aware that he was hurt, it was downplayed the severity in the conversations I had. That it was a hammy, but it wasn't like, oh, he's got to go under the knife. When you go under the knife, it's obviously assessing what the reality is for the injury itself, right? It tells you how bad it is, but it also it concerns me longevity, because hamstrings obviously are insanely important. Whole bodies are, right? But when we talk about hammies, the amount of ground that he covers, the burst, the speed, all closing down, all of that stuff. Yeah, it's a major area of concern. So the fact that he's gone under the knife says a couple things, right? Severity of injury, concern from the staff. Obviously, Tyler and his representatives okaying it. I would assume because U.S. Soccer lock in step with everything that's happening with their players over abroad, that there was an understanding and an agreement upon whoever he went to go see. And I don't have any clarity if he had the surgery in the Leeds area. He's come back to the States. He's gone to a U.S. doctor. I would assume that was also on the table. But yes, I would suggest anytime you go under the knife, unless it's like a little small cleanup in the knee to try to get some cartilage out of the way, that this means that this is the end of his season. So I would assume, what are we, March 28th? That this also puts him in jeopardy for the semifinals of the Nations League, which is June. What I got it right. June 15th in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium.
And it also maybe takes him out of the equation for if Leeds go down and West Ham stay up and Declan Rice goes elsewhere, which he will, being the replacement at the Bowl of Disappointment, which I'm sure is the goal of all young American boys. What does it mean for Weston McKennie? You saw him play this week, and you know, with Weston McKennie, I don't know about him. I know we've had this thing about Tyler Adams, but I'm getting more and more convinced about the quality of Tyler Adams. There's some things missing from his game, but I think there's a great reading of the game there. I think there's a good player coming out. With McKennie, I still don't know. I really don't know. And the thing is with him is that I know he played the through ball to Ricardo Pepi, but again, I'm not sure El Salvador are a real nation, so I'm not sure it counts. They're fictional, right? Nathan Drake, fictional. They're in I don't know. Uncharted 2. Mark Wahlberg, you've seen the film.
It's a great movie.
It's a good movie, and they're good games. They're good games. But look, McKennie moved to Leeds. Why? Number one, Marsh. Number two, to play with his pal Tyler Adams, and Marsh has gone bye-bye, and now so has Tyler Adams. What does this mean for McKennie? What sort of player I think the next 10, 12 games, for me at least, I'm sure his whole career is about convincing me. Everything else is irrelevant, I'm sure. But I think I'm going to find out in 8 weeks whether he's actually any good or not. The Leeds games coming up are going to be just huge matches. Every single one a cup final now until the end. Zero chance he plays in that utterly pointless game against Mexico in April. And then we go to at least one game against Mexico, likely in the summer. The next few weeks, what are we going to see from Weston McKennie? How good is he? What's his best position? What's he going to offer in the Premier League?
I think he's going to convince you. I know, just like I told you with Tyler Adams, I think he's going to convince you. And this isn't trying to be super Americana homer. I think that his toolbox, his player profile, is so strong and so built for Premier League. I mean, think about it. This kid broke into Schalke in a time where they were still pretty good. I mean, they were playing Champions League football underneath Tedesco, and he was playing as a central midfielder. He was playing as a right back. He was playing as a center back at times. He was playing as attacking midfielder. His range, his athleticism, like I don't, there's a reason, like, I got to be honest with you. The first time I heard the links to Juve, I was like, come on, man. Like, who's pulling our leg? Like, what day is it? What month is it? Like, is it like April Fool's? And then when it went down, there was a reason why Juve activated his purchase so quickly. Now, everything that happened and you know, from the boardroom to the field to the manager to Weston, there's all levels of accountability with however that transpired to make this move to Leeds United. And you're certainly correct. Having Jesse there at the time and Tyler there and Brendan Aronson there, and even Jack Harrison. Jack Harrison spent some time in the States, Wake Forest, went to NYCFC, and then made his move to Leeds United via Manchester City. There's a connection there. Weston, the way he reads the game, he's super intelligent. And the way that he covers ground and his deep lying runs, his technical ability, even the corner, he scored off the corner where he goes up for the header, his height was incredible. And then he just kind of turned and pivoted so quickly and scored a goal. He sees the game really, really well, and he complements other players around him. So yes, while there's an incredible amount of pressure for Leeds United, and by the way, he was telling us, like, everywhere he goes, Leeds United fans just pop up and are like, McKennie, Leeds United fan. And like, they're British. And I know that wasn't British.
That was
McKennie.
not British.
No.
You got to do Yorkshire.
Hello, mate. What's McKennie, mate?
Where are you from
Big Leeds United fan here, mate.
Where are you
Don't
from
drink the water, mate.
Are you doing Anthony Hudson now? You're doing Tony?
Is that what? No. Dang, I was so close.
You got to do a Yorkshire accent like that. You got to go, hello, I'm from Yorkshire. Yorkshire.
Yeah.
Like that.
There you go. It sounds like it was almost his exact impression.
Mine was a bit Mancunian, actually, but it's reasonably close geographically. Yeah. So I still think I'm not going to get insulted too much.
Yeah.
Hello.
Thomas J. Rennie. No. Thomas J. Rennie on Twitter. I think you will. I think you will come around on him. I truly believe it. I think he's much better. I think it's easy to look at him, and if you're not a U.S. soccer fan or not a Leeds fan or a Juve fan or Schalke fan, you're like, oh, okay, he's okay, he's a talented player. But I think if you study him and you really watch his movement, you'll see some of the intangibles that he has in his back pocket.
Trouble is, in the Premier League, in this race, he's coming up against, for one team, James Maddison in that mix, for one team, Declan Rice in that mix, for one team, Ruben Neves in that mix. There's some very, very good players in some pretty useless teams this season, and someone has got to step up. And for Leeds, it's got to be McKennie. Two other quick bits. I want to do full America chat here. There's a couple of other things. I want to talk to you about Antonio Conte and this ridiculous statement as well on this show. But a couple of other bits. How do you feel about the fact the US men's national team manager sounds exactly like me?
He has a better accent than you.
In what way is it better?
And he's a silver fox. Anthony Hudson is a silver. He's got, if you like, so we met with, we've done Zoom calls with him. We've talked to him on the phone. We hung out with him on the field down in Orlando. And Sarah Walsh, I'm gonna throw under a bus. My host, my co-host. Well, she's the host. We're just the Nuggets hanging out.
You build yourself a bit high there, son. Didn't you?
Way too high.
Immediately backtrack there. You was about to get a text. You was about to get that text.
By the way, Sarah Walsh as a host is one of the best hosts, if not the best host I've ever.
Yeah, TNT.
Ever been.
Yeah. It's Bill O'Neill. I'm just hearing that Dunny thinks he's the host. Yeah.
Co-host.
That's it. I'm afraid. Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Yeah. No, so I'm off the Mexico game. Mexico game doesn't matter. So Sarah was like, we were talking. She goes, "Man, that Anthony Hudson." I was like, "What?"
Here we
She
go.
goes, his accent, and I was like, "Whatever, Sarah." And then we met with him, and he was talking, and I was like, "I see what Sarah's talking about. I see it.
Sounds like me.
No, he sounds so much better than you."
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
In what way better? Describe better, because I am a professional broadcaster here.
It's sexier. He's got a sexier voice than you, Rennie.
But do you not think
you've got an angry voice? He's got a sexy voice.
Angry can be sexy. Have you not seen 50 Shades of Grey?
Oh, no.
Starring Anthony Hudson. It's a great film. It's a very sensual movie. It's one of Tim's favorites.
Yeah, no, you're nowhere close. You're nowhere close. He's got such a better vibe to him, but such a better presence to him. He like commands the respect of the room in such a subtle and nice way. On the other hand, on the other hand, are aggressive.
Yes, and that's how I command the respect of the room, with threats.
Look at him bounce.
Furious.
Look at him bounce. He's not happy. He's not
livid
happy
about this.
You've got a bourbon waiting for you after this.
Did you ask him? That's not a name. Did you ask him if he came through the same? Because he was at West Ham in '98, right? So he'd have been in the same group as Joe Cole and Michael Carrick and Defoe, potentially Richard Garcia. These guys. So really good. Adam Newton was the wing back, was amazing. Stephen Bywater. I mean, they were the Youth Cup winning team of '99. I think he would have been in the academy under Tony Carr at the same time. Next time you speak to him, A, stop fucking drooling, and B, sorry, Tim, ask him about that time. I'd love to know about that time. We should get him on the show. Why is he not on the show now?
I should have. I didn't even think about that. We could have seen if he knew Bish. I should have said Bish, and he would have been like, Bish.
Well, Bish is older. Bish is older.
I know Bish is older, but
Bish wouldn't have been in the youth. Bish would have been in the bloody youth team in '98.
No, it would have been because he would have been CTE. He would have been scrubbing boots. He would have been polishing his boots. I mean, 2001 was when I went down to Miami. So when he left West Ham, Bish would have been already at Miami Fusion.
Well, I think he would have gone. I think he went to Man City before and after West Ham.
Yeah. No, he did. Yep. He told me some great Harry Redknapp stories.
Oh, we've got no time. We've got no time. But Bish. Yeah, I'll bet. I've got a couple of terrific ones. He was at the races recently with a lot of literally last week with a lot of our TalkSport colleagues. And
oh, really? Bish was.
No, Harry Redknapp. Oh. And there's just constant, endless, brilliant stories from H. Let me ask you this as well. You, of course, did the pitside interview with Matt Turner.
Yeah.
For TNT. Did you tell him that gender reveals are shit?
That usually they are. And I am.
Look at you! Look at you! Now you're in the tent. Everyone's brilliant. Look at you!
No. I was going to tell you, I'm not a gender reveal guy. I'm as negative and as petulant about them as you are. I can feel it in my blood.
They have ruined so many of my weekends. Oh, Tina and Jim are having a boy. Couldn't give a shit. I was going to sit at home this weekend and watch the telly. I've got a box set of season 6 of The Sopranos to watch. I've not watched the last episode of The Last of Us yet, and I've got to turn up at your house to find out that you're having a boy. I don't care.
It's Salt Lake City. The Last of Us. Salt Lake City is when it ends.
Yeah, it's where everyone goes to die. I think that's right, is it?
For the most part, yeah. Now
it's on the boards as you drive in.
Yeah, and now after what happens. By the way, Charles Barkley during the All-Star game goes crazy about Salt Lake City. He goes, "Man, y'all going to heaven out here," because he said there was nothing to do and he was so bored. So, anyways, we were talking about that in Atlanta. We were all laughing. I usually hate gender reveals.
Yes.
I usually do. I'm not a wedding guy. I don't go to weddings. Like, people invite me to weddings. I have no interest. I don't care.
Should we tell people what he did? Because I just feel like if you haven't seen it, you were there. What did he do?
After the game, gets the shutout. They get the win. He's handed this little soccer ball. His wife, Ashley, and his son, who's 9 months old, 10 months old, are on the field. They walk out. Team surrounds it. They're in front of like the safe standing section in Orlando. And guy counts him down and he kicks the ball and it explodes and it's pink. And so he's having a girl. So they have a little boy. They're having a little girl. Team goes nuts. Everyone's congratulating him. He comes over to the desk. He does an interview with us. They hand him his son. His son's pulling his ear out. Not his ear out, but pulling the ear, the thing that goes in his ear.
The
so he can
earpiece
hear
thing, yeah.
everybody. Yeah. and just kind of like gnawing on it. And his wife Ashley comes over. It was really cool, man. I know you hate this nonsense, but it was a really cool moment. And he's such a nice guy. He's such a good teammate. Everybody loves him in the US system. So it was just one of those moments where you think like, would it work? Would it not work? And all of us were like, I don't know how this is going to look. It ended up it came out really, really well.
Look, we wish them well. We wish all people having babies well, right?
Here we go.
But I mean, the amount of times that you get invited to these events, and look, I want you all to have very healthy and happy lives with your babies, but also like going to an event where like you set a flame on a rope that goes up to a balloon and then it explodes and it's all blue and it's like they're having a boy. Terrific. Or like Harry Kane did one recently where he like took a free kick and he burst the balloon inside the net and it was all blue for a child. Or, just the amount of times that people ask my wife, who's a very, very good baker, to bake a cake. And it's like, oh, can you make the inside pink for me? And she's like, no, it's vanilla sponge, you prick. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing vanilla sponge. Yeah. And you could just look at the envelope. Don't waste my Saturday. You know?
Mrs. Rennie and Mr. Rennie. You see where they get it from.
As you can tell, that's my view on it. She's very happy to make cake for people for money. Anything else for the US? I think that's well covered. I think we've done pretty good there. No, wait. No. Balogun. Have you seen Balogun? Flo Balogun, Arsenal player, known now in Liga. Brooklyn-born, Nigerian parents, English raised, been in England since he was 2 or 3 or something. Arsenal academy. Didn't play for the England under-21s because he's, I think he was ill. I think was the official. I don't know what the reason was, but he couldn't go. The real reason is he's been, I think, in Orlando, getting stuff bought for him. How do you feel about the fact that, I don't know, you're having to convince people to be American? Don't you have like 300 million of you?
Oh, is this salty? Is this salty Rennie? Knowing that Balogun's not going
because we don't get Balogun.
We're amazing. We're English. We don't need him. We're good enough. We've got Harry Kane.
Do you think that Flo Balogun would make the England squad in his like career? Seriously?
I do. I think he's got. I mean,
against San Marino in one of those ones you capture.
Who's your backup? Who's your backup?
Ivan Toney.
Now he is. What about Tammy Abraham?
All right, that's 3. I mean, that's already 3.
Oh, what's his name in Newcastle? Went to the World Cup.
Callum Wilson. Oh, so what? You think he's better than Callum Wilson? Florence?
I'm just asking you. Who's when Harry Kane goes down? Who's your guy?
It's not Balogun, is it?
I just asked you. Simple question. Who's your guy?
Had you right?
If Harry Kane goes down for England, who's your starting striker?
Ricardo Pepe.
See, Tim, you know what's happening. He's deflecting because he's scared shitless. Sorry, Tim.
Of what?
What's going to happen when Harry Kane is no longer the iconic presence up top for England?
When Harry Kane stops playing, Tottenham get crap again. So
no, I'm talking about England.
About England? What are you talking about? What I care about is West Ham not going down. This is our first show. It's the first episode.
Balogun.
England?
Yeah, listen.
Come on, tell me.
Balogun, all jokes aside, 17 goals in France, 2 behind.
Good player. Looks good.
Kylian Mbappe. He's got a great profile. The way he runs, the way he moves, technique. If for anyone that hasn't seen him, that's a US or an England fan, go to YouTube, just tap his name in. You'll see some great goals. I thought it was Reims, and it's actually Ross.
Yeah.
Did you know that? Ross?
I only know it because
Reims. Ross.
Their manager, Will Still, is a big West Ham fan. And because everyone wants David Moyes just to please leave, handshakes all round, finish 17th.
Including you?
Well, at the end of the season, yeah.
You haven't said it yet. Are you Moyes in or Moyes out?
No, he's got to go. Has to go. Oh. He should have gotten in November, but the fact is he's not going to go now. I hope they finish 17th and win the Conference League and we can just all part as friends, because any longer than this, it's going to be... going to be bad. Painful. We'll get to that later. But I did know that because Will Still is a West Ham fan.
Yeah, so Ross. I like his player profile. I think that he does things that other players in that position don't do. I think we have a couple of good options at the number 9 position. It's good to see Pepe back scoring goals. It's good to see DK healthy and back in the team after having a stronger run recently with West Brom after having injuries. I still think whether you're talking about Haji Wright, you're talking about Jordan Pefok, you're talking about now Joaquini, who's playing for St. Louis, who's scoring goals. or you're talking about Brandon Vasquez in FC Cincinnati scoring goals. Even throw Josh Sargent in that mix. I think you've got a group of players that are significantly different from one another.
Yeah, some are good, some are useless.
Balogun has something that is completely different.
But what about the because Roberto Mancini's been talking about it recently by trying to get more Argentinians into the Italian squad. What about the courting of players? You know, I know I was going about Mark Noble and how he's such a great person and all that sort of stuff, but he was offered the chance to play for Ireland because of his family heritage and was like, well, I'm not Irish. I'm not going to play for Ireland.
Well, it's different
taking
here.
The spot from someone Irish.
Yeah, it's different here. How do I explain this to you about the States? Because we're all immigrants, a lot of these kids are first or second generation Americans. And like, for example, we had a goalkeeper named David Ochoa, and he was considered like the third goalkeeper, and he was Mexican-American. He went into U.S. camp, played for the under-20s, played for the under-23s, was starting goalkeeper for the Olympic team in qualifying. And he wasn't feeling it. And he got the opportunity to play for Mexico, and he switched allegiances. He went to Mexico. Alex Zendejas, who just started the other night, had been with the under-17s, under-18s, went and played for Mexico for 2 games, and then came back in January to try the men's national team camp. And he's like, I'm American. So what's different here is you can grow up in another country. And you look at Anthony Robinson. Anthony Robinson grew up in England, says, I feel American. Talk to Serginho Dest. He grew up in Holland. He says he feels American. So when you have this resonating feeling, even if you're growing up outside of the States, that America resonates with you and you have dual citizenship, it's a little bit different here. Because I saw a graphic the other day, and it's like, for example, like how Christian Pulisic was able to go to Borussia Dortmund when he was 16, had the Croatian passport. Timmy Howard had a Hungarian passport. That's how he got to Manchester United initially. A lot of us, I was one half generation away from getting my passport. I couldn't get the European passport, work permit, because I didn't have my English passport. All of us, for the most part, how close of a generation you are to your family immigrating to the United States, have better opportunities, or at least more opportunities. So with Balogun, listen, we did it with Yunus Musa. He came in, he tested it out, saw what it was like. Serginho Dest did the same thing. Anthony Robinson, we have a history of doing it with some German players as well, because of the American military side of being based in Germany and pregnancies and all those fun things. But if he decides to come, and the full court press was out, 100% the full court press was out. But remember, Yunus Musa is one of his best friends. They grew up in the Arsenal Academy. He switched. He came over. Matt Turner was at Arsenal with him. They obviously talked. And I think that I would say that whatever the conversation was, take away England under 20 was, take away his post about you go where someone wants you, take away subsequently Gareth Southgate's response after knowing that Flo was in the United States and doing the tour. Whatever this period was that he was in the US was absolutely agreed upon by the representatives of Ross as well as his representatives, and was made very aware of the U.S. men's national team, because Anthony Hudson on multiple occasions said that he has had multiple conversations with what it could look like if Flo did decide. And all he needs a one-time switch. That's all he needs. So we just saw Zendejas do it. We've seen Jesus Ferreira do it. We've seen a couple of players do it. Once he files, then he is officially going to be a U.S. men's national team player.
I mean, it's really interesting. We'll see what happens. I don't know him personally. I don't know if he considers himself to be American or not, but I just always think about, my family have been coming from Scotland for the best part of 600 years. At the moment, Scotland's part of the UK, but if Scotland wasn't, and it was an independent country, and they were like, oh, Tom, can you come and play for us? I don't feel Scottish, but I would do it because Scotland generally have worse players than England, and I wouldn't get in the team. I always think it's interesting.
Didn't Declan do it for Ireland?
He had youth team Ireland cap, same as Jack Grealish, but they don't feel Irish, so they played for England. Plus, England might win a World Cup.
Well, but let me throw some shit at the wall. Sorry, Tim, that's twice now. If if Jack Grealish or Declan Rice weren't deemed good enough, it's kind of the Scott McTominay situation representing Scotland. If they're not deemed good enough to play for England, you bet your ass both of them are playing for the Republic of Ireland.
Well, you say that, but I gave you the Mark Noble example, and he got offered the chance to play, and he is basically Scott McTominay in many ways. You know, there was times where he's probably good enough to play for England, but at that time, England had Gerrard, Lampard, etc. Right?
Yeah.
So in another era, he probably would have played. And he got offered the chance to go, and it's in the Graham Hunter podcast. He talked about this, and he was like, "Well, look, I'm just not Irish."
But those two did play for Republic of Ireland. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, but for the youth, I mean, youth team's different, isn't it? It's different because you're just like when you're 17, you play for anyone, don't you? Family show. Listen, we've got to move on, and we're nearly out of time. And I do want to briefly touch on this. We might do a bit more on this on Friday. We'll certainly do it on the Sirius XM show. Just a bit of the Antonio Conte goodbye statement. Now, again, full disclosure, Dunny and I have been proved massively wrong on Antonio Conte, something we discussed on last week's podcast. But here's the statement. I won't do the accent. Football is passion. Isn't that the character from Ted Lasso? Football is life. Football is passion. I would like to deeply thank everyone at Spurs, that's caps, who appreciated and shared my passion and my intense way of living football as a coach. Ugh. A special thought to the fans who always showed me support and appreciation, brackets, not the other ones. It's been unforgettable to hear them singing my name. Our journey together has ended. I wish you all the best for the future, Antonio. Antonio Conte is so classless. I really struggled with reading this statement, this horrid saccharine kind of PR job he's done here, because never has a man wanted to get out of a contract after signing it quicker than Antonio Conte. From the Burnley meltdown to his recent meltdown after the Southampton game, have we actually scanned him to see if his gallbladder is missing? I don't know. That last one was a joke, but he just didn't want to be there. He regretted taking the job. He regretted signing the contract, but was in it for 20 million, 15 million plus whatever it was in the first half year. Was desperate to get out of it. And he never respected Tottenham Hotspur as a club. And for all the kind of grief I might give Spurs fans and whatnot, they are one of the great clubs of English football, one of the great names of English football, one of the great names of European football, frankly. And they have been, I think, taken for mugs by Antonio Conte and the way he's treated the club, the football that he's played, the way he's treated their supporters and their players. And I just think this statement, it doesn't ring true. To have said that last week than to say that this week, I don't think he ever respected Tottenham Hotspur. I know we'll do this longer another time, Dunny, but I just read it and I just thought, sod off.
Yeah. What's the total amount that Tottenham have paid off their managers?
I had this. Do you want me to read this?
Since AVB, it was like 64 million, right?
So Villas Boas 4.5 million, Tim Sherwood nothing, Maurizio Pochettino 12.5 million, Mourinho 20 million, Nuno Espirito Santo 14 million, Antonio Conte 4 million, a grand total of 55 million pounds.
So I was off by 9. Damn it, my math.
You were doing dollars, right?
I was doing dollars. $64 million. There
it is.
Spot on. Where do we start?
We got 2 minutes, so do it quick.
The managerial appointment made sense for all the right reasons. The choice by Antonio Conte to take over Tottenham was a curious one, only because we knew what his expectations were.
Yeah.
And the deliverables, whether promised or not, did not end up coming there. He got players, make no mistake about it. As much as he might want to moan about not having players, he had players. He maybe just didn't have the players that he wanted. He probably got some players he didn't want. Jed Spence and guys like that. The reality is he's got his style of play. He's got a system. He's got an identity, and it works. And it doesn't always work, but it works. But the moment that there, at least it feels this way from the outside looking in, the moment that there feels like there was a promise that was undelivered, things start to go sideways. And it starts to unravel. And as that ball unfurls, so does his mind. And my question would be, as we look back, did he make them better? I would say by switching the style of play, being a little bit more pragmatic, being more counterattack based, they weren't fun to watch. They were more fun to watch than Jose Mourinho's similar style.
Were they?
They got forward with a little bit more reckless abandon than they did underneath Jose Mourinho. They looked a little bit more stable than they looked underneath Jose Mourinho, but they didn't come anywhere close to winning a trophy. And qualifying for Champions League is an important factor, but we expected them to qualify for Champions League. And I think we all thought that Antonio Conte, because of his energy and his accountability on the sideline, was going to take them to the next level. And ultimately they didn't. So I agree with you. You take money out of the conversation, I think this relationship would have unraveled a long time ago. But it's always about money. Don't be stupid. It's
Antonio Conte signed for the money because he had nothing else going on and was like, oh, I can do 18 months at where? Tottenham. Never heard of them. But I can earn £20 million by doing it. Absolutely. It's why people go to Saudi Arabia for sporting events. It isn't for the history. It isn't for the culture. It's for that sweet cashish. And don't let anyone tell you any different. Dunny, always a pleasure. Occasionally a chore. No more time for that conversation today because that's enough. But we're back together again on Sirius XM FC in the USA for subscribers on Thursday. And are you turning up for Friday this week?
Thursday and Fridays from now on.
Great. So, and we're also planning, if we do manage to get Dunny in studio on a Friday, we're going to maybe try and record something for the Week in the Tackle feed on Friday. Maybe a little weekend preview, maybe a little spillover extra, because we're in the top 50 in the US now, top 40, and we're looking for top 20. We'd like to be in the top 10. So tell your friends, tell your wife if she likes football, tell your wife's lover if she does occasionally go out for a couple of days and not get back to you. Tell your dog, tell your cat, and subscribe if you're not subscribed already.
And we're on YouTube. If you're listening as Just a Straight Podcast, you can see our ugly mugs staring at each other. And you can check out Rennie's awesome mock turtle neck.